she also record their time.
I thought she will give you to ask different things.
Yeah, because based on the context that they give me and what they present.
So, but what is like the main, like the common thing that you want us to?
I anchor the content points. Remember, I always tell you to highlight this point. I anchor the content points, and then I find out which one is also missing, and then whether it's related to the presentation on the spot that they give me. Okay, please.
Okay, hi guys. So we are a bunch of interns, we're a group of interns from Republic Poly, and then now we are interning at SBA, Singapore Basketball Academy. So now we are entrusted to carry out a training program for kids who are learning basketball from 5 to 10 years old. Next. Okay, so this will be the content page that we'll be going through. Next.
Okay, so for our stakeholders, we will be closely contacting their parents and the elites. We will be having assistant coaches and our supervisor will be there as well. So for parents, they give us their expectations, so we have to live up to it. Then for elites, we are here to build their foundation and we are their role models. Then our assistant coaches are there to help us provide any feedback and a different perspective. Okay. Then for supervisors, yeah, just pay us. Thank you. Okay, next.
Okay, so firstly, we talk about age-appropriate activities. So the definition of this is basically training considerations due to an athlete's age as well as the unique physical developments and motor skill developments occurring during each of these stages. So since we are training 5 to 10 year olds, we have two age range. The earlier part of the 5 to 10 year old, which is 5 to 8, as well as 9 to 10, which is the later stages. So physical developments for age range 5 to 8, they enjoy vigorous activities, but they are also easily tired. Secondly, they have difficulty focusing on tasks, and probably due to short attention span. Thirdly, they also have poor peripheral vision. The meaning of this is basically they are not able to see well out of the corner of their eye without turning their head. Then for the age range 9 to 10, some physical development considerations include an increase in recovery time after vigorous activities. However, they also have better coordination, but due to their age range, they also need adequate stretching before the physical activity. So for the motor skills development, for age range 5 to 8, they need simple games and activities as well as repetitive practice and simple skills. And then as they go to age 9 to 10, they still need the repetition. However, they are more aware of their usage of time, space and direction, so we can train them in their spatial awareness. And they also develop the ability to learn and apply safe techniques.
So basically for one of our activities, right, we have used one of the basketball activities to do the thing, which is called ABC. I think those that like dabble in basketball before will know what it is. So to put in simple terms, right, it's just at different points you have to make a basket for it to count, then you can move on to the next one. So it's simple enough to understand that those in our academy from 5 to 10 will be able to understand and participate in the activity. So for motor learning, right, we have 3 major stages, which is cognitive, associative, and autonomous stage. So how do we use this in basketball? For cognitive, it's just for the foundation of all the skills that that is used in basketball, like passing, shooting, dribbling, and playing defense. So why we use this is for them to have a rough idea on how these movements work and to perform them during games or exercises. So for associative stages, right, how do we applicate this into basketball is that they learn the foundational skills and then use it into a game-like scenario. So even though they can grow frustrated with their progress, but they're still making progress, even though it will take a longer time to refine it. So it's like normal how you learn a new skill like math. You will learn at first you'll start very easily, so you'll learn very fast, but as like you progress, right, you'll start to feel a bit frustrated because of how hard you will get sometimes. And then for the last stage, which is the autonomous stage, how we use this in basketball is that they are well fluid and like well coordinated to play the game, so that they have more body control and coordination, so they can multitask, which allows them to play as a team and be able to use strategies and positions to look out for of the opponents. Next time.
Sorry.
Okay, so next, windows of trainability. This refers to the age where certain skills and or training is more appropriate compared to certain stages, whether earlier or later. So for example, if you want to train flexibility, training at a younger age, such as age 7, is probably better compared to 21. This is mainly because of when we're still growing, we're probably more flexible in the sense that our bones probably aren't that stiff, or our joints probably aren't that stiff, and our growth plates haven't closed yet, right? So next, why do we use these windows of trainability? Firstly, there's a higher ceiling for athletic potential. It's to avoid undue stress on the bones and accommodate players of various developmental ages, as well as considering their gender. During this time, girls usually have their PHV around 11, while guys have theirs around 13. So during this period, right, the body will have accelerated growth of the musculoskeletal system, which may cause clumsy movement that affect skill performance in their sports. So girls, they are more susceptible to speed and suppleness training at 5 to 7 years old, and skills from 7 to 10 years old. So application is that for speed, they are able to accelerate and decelerate faster to enter a short form. And then for suppleness, they are more flexible and more injury resistant. Same for the guys, they are also able to accelerate and decelerate faster and more flexible and injury resistant. Okay, next.
Okay, so for this, we'll be talking about the types of learning styles, VARK, visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. For ages 5 to 10, I feel that kinesthetic and visual are the best because they are at the age where they cannot like think about what you're telling them or read and write so well. Maybe 9 to 10 can, but not as good. So when we demonstrate, they can just watch and they can follow what we're doing. Kinesthetic, we can let them do it more hands-on so they get more practical time while we just give them tips or correct them what they're doing. Examples of visual is we can demonstrate for them, we can have videos or images, diagrams for them. Reading, writing, we can have them to write down rules, instructions so that they can better remember it. Auditory is just, I think it's the most common for older children where the coaches just tell them instructions, key coaching points on like how to shoot or dribble the ball. Yeah.
Okay, so these are the type of coaching techniques that we'll be applying for the kids which are 5 to 10 years old. So first of all, I want to talk about the TSAD, which is tell, sell, ask, and delegate. So what we want to implement is, as a kids, right, they do not have a very long attention span and they tend to get distracted very easily. So what we want to implement is what to tell the kids. So for example, if they want to dribble the ball, right, we just give them a simple key coaching points instead of beating around the bush, tell them to dribble here, dribble there. No, we set up like very good markers for them so they can see. Once they hear the instruction, they are able to perform it, as well as keeping the drills and their movement very simple. The next one is to sell. So it's very important because as kids, right, you always like to do something with reward. When you tell them like, oh, when let's say you score this basket, right, you got a point for your team can win. With this prizes and all as such, right, they will be more eager to perform the activity in hand. Okay, the next one is ask. So as they develop slowly to be more to be better at the skill, right, we will start to ask them questions. For example, like, okay, so if let's say you're dribbling, right, okay, this is one example, is like, let's say you hit down the cone. Okay, so how? If like, there's a defender in front of you, so how? What must you do? We give them situations and scenarios, such as like in-game scenarios, for them to learn, for them to think about it, and then they will give you the answer as well. Okay, then the next one we are wanting to implement is also communicating style, because as kids, right, you cannot just tell, because sometimes your words, right, will come in and come out one ear. So the thing if you want to incorporate also is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication, one example is that, let's say they perform the drill very well. Let's say they score the basket, right? So what you can do, instead of saying just good job, right? Good job, sometimes, you know, like they'll be happy, they'll be their own word, they'll forget about it. So non-verbal, right, is, for example, let's say they run past you, give them a tap. You know, like give them a tap, give them some physical touch, appropriately of course, but then just, you know, like sometimes look at them, give them your facial expression also matters, because kids sometimes they don't understand what you're saying, right? But when they look at you, right, for example, you frown at them, they will feel disheartened in a way. So just smile, maybe a good tap, high five. So these are the non-verbal communication that we really want to implement on. Next. Okay, so for progression and regression. So for progression and regression, so for shooting, right, our shooting is, so for normal basketball, it will be 3 meters. Definitely they are not, 5 to 10 years old will not be able to reach that certain height of a rim. So therefore, we will regress the activity. First of all, standing closer to the rim. Instead of the free throw line, maybe closer to the foul line, right? And then the rim will be lowered down from 6 to 7 feet, which are in place for the 5 to 10 year olds. Okay, and the ball size also, they'll not be using a standard basketball, but a smaller basketball. So progression of the activity, once they're able to shoot from a very near distance, they'll slowly make their way back. And that's why we also incorporate the game of ABC. Because ABC is not around the 3-point line, which is too far for the kids. But ABC is around the foul line. When you realize that, you know, around the foul line, right, there's certain lines for you to stand. So that's where they will slowly improve, and then they will work their way back and improve their shot as well. So one thing we also want to implement is that we must ensure that the activities are not too difficult for the students to perform. And we as coaches must always be aware and are aware of like their reactions to how they react to the activity. Make sure that they're comfortable by doing the activity, because for some students, when they find it difficult, right, they will start to, you know, they'll try their best to do it, but once they are unable to do it for a certain number of times, they'll start to go into panic. And when they are panicked, right, they wouldn't want to listen or be locked in the lesson anymore. They'll tend to zone out because they already feel like, oh, I can't do this, why should I just listen, you know? Then they will start to do like nonsense things, like they're throwing the ball anyhow and such. So one thing about the Tuckman's group development that I really believe in, so for example, for forming, right, the introduction of the lesson is very important, because they will all work together. Then from then on, right, they will be able to, I mean, they'll feel different emotions, because for new training sessions, right, you'll be excited, nervous, they don't know what to expect yet. However, as we go on to storming, right, then only you will start to develop your roles, because and basketball is a team sport. You have your captain, you have, you know, bench players. So that's where they might have some fallout or competitiveness. Because for example, basketball there's 5 positions, right? A point guard cannot do what a center does. Okay, center is a big man who defends the post. You're not expecting a small guy to do that job. You know what I mean? So you have your own individual roles. But once they know what they're doing, and then they are not able to fulfill that role, that's when they'll start being competitive and very irritated at themselves. So we must ensure that to avoid this, we always take back the progression and regression. We must ensure that every one of them understand their role as well as able to perform. If it's too hard for some, we are able to regress the activity to a simpler activity, so that all the students are able to perform it together. The next one is norming. So you know, once they get over the phase, right, they'll start to, in a way, bond, because you incorporate like teamwork, and then that's when they start to learn like, okay, working together as a team. I mean, it's not gonna come natural. It's gonna take a while, but then slowly you can see the camaraderie in the team, and maybe once they start to communicate with each other, and we as a coach have to implement these kind of things. We have to stop competitiveness. I mean, not really stop it, but we have to manage it very well, because once the team start to, you know, oh, I'm better than you, you're better than me, then after that, it will not be a very conducive environment. The next one is performing. So we have to keep the players motivated as well, ensure that there are goals at the end, such as maybe competition, or like maybe like 3-on-3 basketball. Keep them excited for a goal, and that why the reason that they are training together for. So for 5 to 10 years old, where are we at 5 to 10 years old? Primary school, right? So what's the main competition we'll be training for is most likely our school games. So that is where, or even during this training session as well, they'll host a competition. So that is where they will stay competitive. And then the last one is adjourning. So at the end of this program, when they're 10 years old, not all will stay. I mean, some people have different ambitions, and then some they will just adjourn basically. So we want them to be able to like appreciate the activity and like enjoy, like create memories along the way. Because all these sports and all these things that they go through will build them up as a person overall. Next.
Okay, so for long-term LA development, we are now focused on the first part, which is the fundamental movement skills. So for this stage, they are still getting used to the movements of throwing the basketball, dribbling and that. But this is where we step in, where we build their foundation. So we will be focusing their shooting techniques and their form, so that they can pursue their passion for basketball in the future, just to build their base first. So then for our teaching methods, for now we are focusing on the disabled part. So there's a few ways we can teach somebody with a disability. This is in general lah. So firstly is we have to understand their abilities. Okay. So example like we can't show them something when they are blind. You know what I mean? so they have to understand lah. So then we have to assess their abilities and needs. So see what they can do, what they cannot do. Then so we have to build a conducive environment for them so that they feel included in the sessions. Then we also have to be patient and flexible with their abilities. You know, some of the things they can't do, we have to compromise lah. Then for the rules and regulations put up, again we have to understand their needs lah. Then we have to prioritize their inclusion, so the rules can be modified here and there to make sure they are included into the games. We have to have clear communication, and when you see they are struggling, we can get like their feedbacks about what we can do to help them even better. Then for environment, for wheelchair users, maybe they got spinal cord injury or something. We can provide ramps around the area so it's easily accessible for them. Then since they are still 5 to 10 years old, okay, we can lower the basketball rim, make it more convenient for them. Still make it competitive, but understanding, you know what I mean? So then for the social environment, we can educate the teammates about the person's disabilities so that they also understand what it feels like to be disabled. Then that's the same point. Next, for equipment, just I forgot to mention, but Bia has mentioned it. We can make the ball lighter. We can use a smaller ball for these 5 to 10 year olds because normal regular ball is quite big. Then and also easier for them to bounce, especially those with disabilities also. Then ball could be smaller and the rim could be lower. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Next. Okay, thank you so much.
So to end it all, so we as coaches, we as interns, we already presented to you our idea of how we would like to coach. So now we want to hear your suggestions on how we can improve our activity.
I've got a question. Like, it's not really progression, regression. Every time you're always talking about the regression, right? Like, you're always saying, how can you regress? But what if the student or player is like super talented and then he can do everything? How can he progress it?
Okay, so I already mentioned, so for progression and regression, for the progression part, right? Once, let's say, so now we are starting around the area, which is the foul line area. So once let's say these students are, okay, what kind of abilities you're talking about first? Because basketball, there's many.
Alright, let's say like he's stronger, he's faster, he's more accurate, and he can do 3-pointers.
Okay, shooting. Okay, so in that, right, then you'll be training more under the under a forward role or point guard role. Sorry, point guard role. So point guard rule basically now you start to now you start to progress in activity whereas you'll be shooting from a further line now. So for example, your classmates will be able to shoot around the foul line, right? But then for you, your activity could be shooting around the 3-point line. So 3-point line you can divide it into 5 different parts and then they'll train from there. Yeah.
Wait, just to add on, right? So your plan is to separate them from the normal grouping.
No, it's not separate them. So we can have we all can plan activities, right? Incorporate activities that help all of them develop together. Because at the start, right, will be all of them will be following a basic, will be following the same plan. Because I'm sure that 5 to 10-year-olds will not be as educated as to basketball and to understand their roles. But slowly, once they develop, once they gain knowledge for the sport, right, then when they are more indulged into their roles, for example, like a point guard, shooting guard, forward, power forward, and center, right? Then after that, we'll have different activities to train the different groups.
Yeah, but what if like the other group mates are unable to do a 2-point shot, but then this particular person is able to do a 3-point shot already?
Correct.
So like, how are you going to train them together?
Okay, so instead of for us, right, that's a very good question. I have to think about it again. But from what we are planning to do, right? So let's say this person is really very developed in the 2-point shot, right? So very simple. Instead of making them do a different activity overall, no. Their ball size, remember that because they're young, we give them a smaller ball. So since you're able to do it, right, use the men's ball instead now. You know, slowly up the challenge in that way.
Another suggestion is instead of stationary, right, you can add some movement into it. So instead of just standing there waiting, then like getting your pace in, you can like from running then you slowly stop into a shot. So it's just progression depending on how you want to look at it. You can change the ball size, but I feel like it's a bit unconventional. You can add movement also, which is don't need to add anything. It's just more movement. Just don't need to have any more equipment. It's just by itself. You know,
Can I just confirm, like you will group 5 to 10-year-olds all together? Yes or no? No.
No.
Okay, so how would you group them?
Oh yeah, sorry, we not mentioned that. No, we group them based on first of all is we see first of all will be more of their height. Because basketball is based a lot on height and then their skill level as well.
Okay.
Because the basketball, for me, height not really important, more of skill level. Because for basketball, right, some players certainly are taller. For example, different roles might be taller than the point guard or what. So we can't really judge them based on height, more of their skill level instead.
Okay, so you group them based on your skill level, not based on the age group. So you might have a very advanced 8-year-old going with 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Okay. Will you mix girls and boys together?
Yes.
Why? Johan?
Because we have to keep them mixed gender, so that but some girls also are quite tall, Carrie.
No, but that's beyond the point, right? And what happens from 5 to 10? Or what
No,
not happens to 5?
we just want them to have fun together. We don't want them to be separated
Okay, why?
with each other.
Why? What is the differences or similarities you see from 5 to 10 between male and female gender? That you say that it's very sound to keep them together.
There are times where they don't like each other, you know, they have the childish arguments, boys versus girls. But
Can you think about in the area of like physical development as well as
that's why I mentioned some of the girls are taller than some of the guys, because girls hit puberty sooner, I think. So their level of maturity also is slightly higher than a guy. Yeah.
But we're talking about 10-year-old.
Yeah,
you foresee someone hitting maturation at 9 or 8? I don't think so. I think the earliest I've seen is 10. Right? But so my question I go back to my question again, right? Why do you think it's sound and okay to group anyone below 10 years old together, or not okay to group them together?
Because since they're all starting from the same base, that's why they are here with us. We can build them together as a group, so that how to say my mind blank already.
I think because like I think Vian or Johan said they all start at the same skill level, right? So we are trying to see, like for example, okay, there's a group of 5 students. At first they all play together. We are testing for their skill level. So from there we can assess their skill level, and then we can then make the necessary adjustments to see like how introducing variation, like okay, about like for example, Vian said about the ball size, right? So maybe some people they have bigger hands, right? So maybe they need slightly larger ball size. So yeah, so
So we are
then we
beating
can-
around the bush about this, right? We're talking about, say, chronological age versus biological age, which I hear you, okay, and understanding that everyone matures differently and you should then group them based on their maturation. I hear that, right? My next question, the level down, would be, why between genders do you support separation or not support separation in the delivery of sessions? So for example, in a classroom setting, I don't play girls versus girls. It can be mixed team, it's okay. And within the age of 5 to 10, why is it okay to do that? So that was my question.
It's mainly to like get them to like get used to each other, because we don't want like in the future, right, they have like mindset where like guys are better than girls or girls are better than guys. So we mix them from an early age, right, so that they can get used to each other and then like make do with what they have lah, because not all groups are going to be the same. So obviously one might have a better one, right, then one might have the worst one.
Okay,
So we just
can you partition your thoughts in terms of physical, social, emotional development of a child?
it's more of like they can.
So rather than I like you, you like me, then I group you together, right? It's more of like a very objective, measurable cause of like, yes, it's okay for boys and girls, definitely it's okay for them to be grouped together. Based on a further certain physical, okay, I direct you a little bit more physical or social emotional attributes that they develop as you're growing up. Anyone from the floor would like to chip in on this? I think it's a very good discussion here.
You see, they learn skills, speed, this type of skills set on that age, like 5 to 10.
Okay, so
When they are together, it's like they're not in a different level of development, but everyone is the same,
Why?
whether it's a boy or girl.
Why do you think so? Why do you think Windows or trainability maps it like that? Why do you think, before peak height velocity happens, right? Then the boys and the girls have the same kind of development style or development progression.
They haven't hit puberty yet, so the boys are not like stronger, the girls are not taller, so they have the same strength, same height, same speed, so they can play together
Yeah.
fairly lor.
Yeah, exactly that. That's all. It's a simple answer, right? But it took you guys so long just to get there. And it's, at the end of the day, the understanding is there, where you all talk about Windows or trainability, right? But you all don't understand how that links to the 5 to 10-year-old age group, for example. You all probably understand that some people mature earlier, some people are more advanced. So you probably would have seen 6-year-olds who can play against 8-year-olds, for example, or 7-year-olds who can play against 10-year-olds. Maybe it could be their skill, their motor skill development, etc. They might be more advanced in that area. But actually, you look at their physique, right? All of them are quite the same one, all the way until they hit puberty. That's why they can mix together. There's no component of like advance in strength until testosterone comes in or estrogens come in. Then that's where the deciding factor of how tall you grow, how long your hands are, etc. come into play, and strength come into play to talk about like whether it's going to be a good shot, powerful attack, etc. So we never talk about power in young kids. I don't know if you realize that. We always talk about just general strength. So just that was a very good deep dive into the topics that we study and how that applies then to practices that we do. That actually at the end of the day talk about sound practices in decision making. Okay? Okay, so let me go into some of my questions. And okay, let's go into motor learning. That one quite serious. Ricky. So when we talk about motor skill learning, right, when you're doing this explanation, is it more in terms of like teaching all the skills or one skill?
It's more of like what we feel that they can understand now. Because of course they're not going to be able to like dribble like.
No, I'm not asking about them. I'm asking about what do you understand as a coach when you teach? Is it all the skills or one skill?
We just focus on like one specific one, then we
Okay.
move on because.
Okay, so we focus on one specific one, right? Tell me which one you want to focus on to explain to me your understanding, okay? Choose one specific skill that you want to explain to me. Just choose one first.
Shooting.
Okay, so let's talk about shooting, alright? So in shooting, what would the cognitive stage be like?
Repeat the question.
Okay, so you chose shooting, right?
Yeah.
And then you say that one skill they will go through all three stages, right? In the learning process of motor learning in Fitz and Posner. So you talk about shooting. Can you explain to me in the cognitive stage, how do I know when I see Elmer, right, when he's learning shooting, this guy is definitely in the cognitive stage. Describe me a scenario that you will see in coaching, in a coaching sense.
It's more of like how they shoot the ball now. So for example, right, someone in cognitive, right, will still be shooting like with both hands, or like one of their hands are not being used properly. So maybe they only shoot one hand or they use both lah. So it's more on their form aspect.
So what's the difference between cognitive and associative then?
Associative is when they really like learn the basic one, right, where they know how the form is supposed to look like and they have like some experience in using it already. So the cognitive one is more of just basic form like training, and then the associative one is more of like using it as a whole thing to play basketball.
To play the sport or to play
Like
just to shoot?
just shooting first.
Okay.
Because,
I think, yeah.
finish it.
Just to add on to Ricky's one, an example for cognitive is like when I think a lot of people start playing basketball or shooting a ball in basketball, they tend to just chest pass to the hoop, right? So that's basically as is described here. Athletes have a rough idea, so they know that the ball they need to use the hands to shoot the ball towards the rim, but they don't know how to do it. So after you teach them the technique, they go on, and once you teach them enough and they kind of have like a idea of it, when they practice using that technique, they are going on to the associative stage, because the correct technique to them may not feel natural, which is why they can grow frustrated with the progress as they are practicing the technique.
Yeah, okay. So let me carry on with because I'm testing this ATS. So how does autonomous stage then look like in basketball, in shooting?
It's more of like when they are able to play like one-on-one, something like that. It's like a training where they are trying to shoot over a person or have an object in a way
Okay,
to test how they are able to like adjust their form.
okay.
Because not in game, right, you're not obviously going to have like your perfect form every day, because
So in autonomous stage, are they focusing on form or are they focusing on external?
they are more focused on like being able to adjust their form to be able to like make the shot.
So still on form.
It's not really on form anymore. It's more of like outside, like external factors that affect their form.
Okay.
Once you're autonomous, I think it's second nature already.
Yeah, it's
It's
more
not
like you're
worry.
already used to it. Then you can pull off a very nice form looking shot lah. But I think it's about how you use the thing when there's other factors included.
Okay, I'm still not convinced, but okay, let's test again.
5 to 10 years old can reach until this stage.
A bit hard lah, but it's doable lor. Can be done lah, but just really hard lah.
Maybe like shooting, then I still see like okay. Okay. This one a bit high level lah. So let's see whether we can answer. Or you can't. But this is on Bian's slide, so Bian, you quiet. Okay, so Bian presented about go back. Bian presented about types of coaching, right? Can you link the types of coaching to perhaps learning style and how you make sense of it?
Wait, check it out. I wasn't like. Which one? That one, right?
Yeah, coaching style and learning style and how you make sense of it. Because at the end when you talk about communication, it's what the coach say
Yeah.
and how the athletes receive. right? And then how the athletes receive is based on the learning style of the athlete as well, whether it's well received, right? Can you draw the link between coaching, what Vian presented, and learning style together to maybe present your own version of this?
So like everyone have different styles, right? But then like for a coach to just stand there and just say, right, it's a bit like unprofessional lah. Because you obviously, since they are 5 to 10 years old, right, you gotta give some examples. They are more usually like those kinesthetic or like visual learners. So you gotta give them like an example of what they should be like, how their form should be looking like. Instead of just talking out, because you talk very easy, right? Then they just
Yeah, you're talking
they
also,
not
but can
they
you
not
tell me
really
in
like
relation to this?
they not really like
You're talking also, I need you to tell me in relation to this. You understand my question, right? You know what I'm trying to do?
yeah.
Okay, I need you to tell me what do you understand from this in relation to learning style, okay, and how you can draw links between them.
It's pretty much just give example, then you ask them to demonstrate to you, and then you point out like what they should be looking out for.
Okay, so what coaching style is that? You give the example.
Ask.
Really?
It's more of like asking because you ask them about how like this thing is an issue.
Okay. And then carry on your train of thoughts. So you ask them how they should do this, and then
Yeah, then they have to like go and try and figure out their way of doing things because
then that's delegate, right?
I guess lah, kind of.
Okay, then how does that link to then link to this learning style? When you ask them to try and ask them to delegate, what kind of learning style would that then suit?
Kinesthetic.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah, so basically like when they try out themselves, right, they can like do their own preference, something like that. So at the end of the day, right, it's not like we want to make them into robots. It's more of like themselves. So if they are comfortable with this, right, they can go ahead lah. But it's more of like a example, then they can.
Okay. Okay, last one for Ilhan, please. I will look at your RJs. Okay, you presented 3 approach, Ilhan, right? But your 3 approach a bit all around the place, You agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so your sport is what? Basketball, okay? Let's do this for a certain disability that you are comfortable with. So can you name me a disability, please?
Amputee.
Okay, amputee. Can you do the TRE with amputee and basketball?
For amputee, so the teaching method is pretty straightforward. Just make sure they understand it.
Okay.
Because they're not autistic or whatever, they still understand.
Okay.
So we just have to modify a bit of the rules and regulations.
Okay,
Like,
such as, for example?
So example, it's like wheelchair basketball. Like you bounce 1-2 times, move. When you bounce again, you can only move two more times, then you can shoot already.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's for rules and regulation.
Okay, and then?
For environment, first one, provide the ramp. And,
But RAMS is not in relation to the game setting, right?
yeah. For game setting, we can put the rims closer so that you don't have to be so far,
Okay, and
Yeah.
so?
Then and lower the rims also. That's for the equipment lah.
Okay.
For environment also, educate the teammates about the disability. We cannot just let them be alone one side. At least pass with them also. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, satisfied. So, Ilhan, Vicky, and Isaac, I need you to work on your RJs.
No problem.
Okay? What will push you from probably a B to a C or C to a B depending on RJ? Yeah, I'm satisfied but not convinced. Okay, can okay, so your presentation please be coherent. So for example, if you are talking about basketball, please talk about basketball all the way, and then be very direct. Because at the end of the day, I'm checking whether you understand. Don't give me a very generic explanation and then just kind of try to push me away lah. That's why just now Ricky, I was like trying to direct you to what I need you to say. Okay, so I need you to prep that for future presentations. Can? Words have to be bigger than this. In fact, you should not be so wordy like that, right? You just give me some of the keywords. That's good enough. Oh? Okay, thank you. Let's move on. 2 and 5.